Why the left and right-hand paths are misunderstood. And what if I told you that light and darkness are not enemies, but siblings? That what you call good and evil are merely shadows cast by the same flame? Throughout history, seekers of truth have stumbled upon a fork in the road, a hidden crossroads whispered of in grimoires, cloaked in symbols, and debated in secret lodges. On one side, the right-hand path, radiant, ordered, devotional. On the other, the left-hand path, rebellious, chaotic, individualistic. These two currents of spiritual evolution are often portrayed as moral opposites: white magic versus black magic, saint versus sorcerer, order versus anarchy. But this binary is not only misleading, it is dangerous. It blinds us to the deeper mystery that lies beneath. Today, we unravel the forgotten truth behind the left and right-hand paths. Not as doctrines to be followed, but as ancient mirrors reflecting two fundamental forces within the soul itself. Forces that, when understood, awaken latent power, and when misunderstood, imprison the seeker in illusion. So, which path do you walk? And are you sure you understand what that really means? Let us begin at the beginning. Origins and definitions, the split of the serpent. The division between the left and right-hand paths is older than most realize. It does not begin with modern occultism, nor even with the ancient mystery schools. It is a current that flows from the primordial well of human consciousness, a split encoded in myth, ritual, and the architecture of the soul. In Eastern traditions, particularly within Tantra, we find the earliest mentions of these terms. The Sanskrit phrases Dakikra, right-hand path, and Vamakara, left-hand path, are not value judgments but descriptions of differing approaches to spiritual realization. The right-hand path emphasizes purity, devotion, and adherence to moral and societal codes. It seeks union with the divine through surrender, aligning the personal will with cosmic law. It is the path of the priest, the monk, the mystic cloaked in white. The left-hand path, by contrast, seeks liberation through personal empowerment. It embraces the taboo, the shadow, the forbidden. It is the path of the sorcerer, the tantrika, the initiate who dares to gaze into the abyss and call it sacred. Both paths can lead to illumination, but their methods and philosophies diverge dramatically. One seeks to dissolve the ego, the other to transform it into a vehicle of divine will. The esotericist Aleister Crowley danced between both currents, often blurring their lines. His concept of thelema, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, embodied the left-hand ideal of self-deification, yet was steeped in ritualistic right-hand structures. Madame Blavatsky, in contrast, warned of the left-hand path's dangers, equating it with sorcery and selfishness. Yet these definitions, even among the wise, reveal a problem. The misunderstanding begins when we assign moral polarity to spiritual polarity. The serpent of wisdom has two coils, one turns inward, the other outward. Neither is wicked. Both are sacred. Common misconceptions and cultural biases, the demon's mask. Why is it that when we hear left-hand path, we flinch? Why does the phrase conjure images of blood rituals, demonic pacts, and whispered curses cast beneath the full moon? This is no accident. It is the result of a long campaign of distortion, one that served the needs of empire, priesthood, and society. In the West, this polarity became tangled in the binary of good versus evil, a construct foreign to many ancient traditions. When the early church sought to consolidate its spiritual power, it declared all that deviated from its doctrine as heresy or worse, sorcery. Pagan practices, Gnostic rites, even indigenous shamanism, all swept into the dark corner labeled left hand. The left became not just wrong, but evil. The feminine, the sensual, the wild, condemned. It was a war not just against a path, but against an entire archetype of spiritual sovereignty. This conditioning lingers. Modern media still casts the right as heroic and divine, the left as villainous and corrupt. But ask yourself, who writes these myths? Who benefits from a world where only obedience is holy? In truth, both paths have been corrupted, and both have been sanctified. There are left-hand adepts who have committed unspeakable acts, yes, but there are also right-hand institutions that have enslaved minds and burned bodies in the name of righteousness. To call one good and the other evil is to mistake the tool for the hand that wields it. As the occultist Kenneth Grant wrote, the distinction is not moral, but magical. The left-hand path is not inherently sinister. It is simply dangerous, like fire, like the ocean, like truth. And that is what makes it powerful. The deeper meaning, alchemy of the two paths. Imagine a temple split in two. On one side, sunlight pours through stained glass, bathing saints in golden light. On the other, shadows flicker against obsidian walls, where lone figures meditate in silence. Most seekers choose a side. The wise seek the secret door between them. The right-hand path is the path of dissolution, the slow melting of ego into the ocean of the divine. It teaches surrender, discipline, and humility. It whispers, "You are the drop, return to the sea." The left-hand path is the path of individuation, not to dissolve the self, but to refine it into something immortal. It is the great work of alchemical transmutation. It roars, "You are the sea in a single drop, awaken." But here lies the deeper truth, these are not separate paths. They are phases of the same spiral. In the true esoteric traditions, both paths are necessary. One purifies. The other empowers. The right-hand path prepares the vessel. The left-hand path fills it with fire. The awakened adept knows that without surrender, power corrupts. And without power, surrender is meaningless. Carl Jung, though not an occultist in the traditional sense, grasped this truth through the psyche. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The left-hand path embraces shadow not to dwell in it, but to integrate it, to become whole. True mastery lies in the union of polarities, Shiva and Shakti, sun and moon, chaos and order. This is the royal path walked by the Magi, the mystic, the philosopher king. The path that transcends division. So when you encounter the fork in the road, know this, it is not a fork, but a mirror. One hand blesses, the other commands. But it is the same soul that moves them both. Practical application, choosing and integrating the path. The ancient temples had no pews, only thresholds. They were places not of belief, but of becoming. So the question now is not which path is right, but which path is right for you. In your life, have you felt the call to dissolve into service? To align with something greater than yourself, to surrender the ego and walk in faith? This is the right-hand path, ritual, prayer, devotion, discipline. It is the path of the heart. Then again, have you felt the pull to forge your own way? To question every rule, to descend into the underworld of your own psyche and emerge crowned in flame? This is the left-hand path, self-initiation, shadow work, sovereignty. It is the path of the will. But understand, these are not boxes to choose from, they are currents to balance. The initiate may begin in the right, building a solid spiritual foundation, grounding themselves in compassion, discipline, and ethical conduct. But eventually, they must descend into the dark, the left-hand path, to confront and transmute the hidden parts of the self. The shadow. The primal. The true will. Here is a simple but potent practice. 1. Self-inquiry ritual. At twilight, when light and darkness kiss, sit in stillness. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What do I blindly obey? Where am I giving away my power? Where am I misusing it? Write what arises. Then ask, what path does my soul need now, not forever, but now? 2. Integrative action. If you walk the right-hand path, stretch into sovereignty. Set one sacred boundary. Speak one uncomfortable truth. If you walk the left-hand path, soften into surrender. Perform one act of service without gain. Offer one prayer, not to a deity, but to the divine within all. This is the alchemy of paths. Integration is not compromise. It is initiation into wholeness. Remember, the true adept does not worship the flame, nor flee from it. They become the fire itself. The unified path of the adept. In the sacred geometry of the soul, the left and right are not opposites, they are wings. And the adept does not fly with one. The deeper you walk this path, any path, the more the illusion of duality dissolves. Light and dark, left and right, sacred and profane, all are masks worn by the one mystery. The great secret of the mysteries is not which hand you use, it is whose hand it truly is. This is the essence of non-duality as taught in the highest tantric and hermetic schools, that all distinctions are useful fictions, necessary for the journey but destined to fall away. The map is not the territory. The polarity is not the truth. The true adept is not a follower of the left or the right, they are the serpent that slithers between them. They know when to kneel and when to stand. When to dissolve and when to rise. They have become, as the ancient texts say, a Weisborn, someone who has died to illusion and been reborn in gnosis. So if you take one truth from this journey, let it be this. Both paths are incomplete without the other. And the one who walks them both becomes the bridge between heaven and earth. The right hand shows you the stars. The left hand teaches you to become one. And the awakened soul no longer asks, which path? Only, how deeply can I walk the mystery? The choice was never about sides. It was about courage, wholeness, and the will to remember who you truly are. The veil has lifted, if only for a moment. If this message stirred something ancient within you, an echo, a flame, a whisper, you are not alone. There are others who walk the edge of the blade, who see beyond the illusions of light and dark. You are among the hidden ones, and your path is only just beginning. Subscribe to this channel, and step further into the forgotten teachings, the living symbols, the sacred fire behind the world's masks. Share this message with those who feel the call, who dream of more than dogma. And in the space below, write this if you're ready. I walk between the worlds. We will see you in the next transmission. Until then, walk wisely. Walk boldly. And remember, true power is never found in choosing sides, but in becoming whole.